Welcome back. Guess what? It's here. Yes, sir. Here we go. If it's what, yeah. Viewer mail coming up after this. Here they are. This is from Billy H., a Pittsburgh fan, obviously. I get the question. Tell me why I do or don't want Chase Claypool on my fantasy football team this season. Well, I think you do want him, and these are the 4 reasons why I think you do. He's a year 4 wide receiver, had 2 good years to start. First year he had 9 touchdowns with a healthy Ben. Second, he had 2 touchdowns. So he's obviously a tight end dependent wide receiver, but there's also other factors here. He's had 5 quarterbacks in 3 years. Yeah, 5. This is his 3rd offensive coordinator in the last 3 years. That doesn't help. And 1 bad season in fantasy doesn't make him a bad risk. In fact, let me just pull something up here. He did not particularly have a bad season last year when he was still in Pittsburgh. His first 2 years in Pittsburgh, he had over 60 catches and over 100 targets, and in both years averaged 14 yards a catch. The only difference really was the first year he had 9 touchdowns, the second year he had just the 2. Halfway through last year, he had 32 catches and he was traded to Chicago. So if you extrapolate the 32 of a half season into a full season, he was still going to be in around the 60 to 70 catch season. So nothing changed. The only thing that changed, his yards per catch were now around 10 instead of 14, and his touchdowns dropped all the way to 1. When he got to Chicago, new quarterback, they don't throw the ball in Chicago. This year, they probably will. This year, they have Mooney, they invested in DJ Chark, and they actually traded a 3rd-round pick to get Claypool. And they also have Tyler Scott. So I think the team this year is going to throw more, and if Chase can just play the way he was playing in Pittsburgh, I'm sure what you've got there is 800 yards, 60 catches, 4 or 5 touchdowns. You've got a good guy for your bench. You've got a good flex player there. You've got a guy who's going to be touchdown dependent, but I think you got a guy that you should have, and you can get him at a good price right now in any fantasy format. Question number 2. This comes from Anthony. He's a Giants fan. He says, who are your top 10 quarterbacks for fantasy for 2023? He said, I've seen quite a few lists, and a fair number of them have some of the rookies in the top 10. Now, I'm not putting rookies in the top 10 quarterbacks. I'm not even putting them in the top 15. So if you've got Richardson, Young, or Stroud, hey, I really hope they do well. But my list does not include them because I haven't seen them play. No idea what the pecking order is or even if they're going to start. So here is my top 10 list, and take it for what it's worth. I have 6 guys which I have rated number 1. Is that the chicken way out? That's the chicken way out. No, I mean, I've got Patrick Mahomes as number 1, and obviously that's an easy pick. Josh Allen, number 2, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, and Justin Herbert in that order. Now, how hard is it to pick those 6? If you wind up with any of those, you're going to have a good season. You've got a good quarterback. You don't have to worry about quarterback if those are your quarterbacks, or 2 of them or 1 of them. If you have one of those, you got it, okay? It's the next part that really makes it difficult for fantasy owners to decide. See, if any of those 6 guys wound up as being your quarterback 1 for the year, who would be surprised? Not me. Would you? No. Okay. No, nobody would be. But you would be surprised if it was Dak or Jared Goff or Aaron Rodgers or Trevor Lawrence. Well, maybe some people might think that Trevor Lawrence does belong in that top 6. I'm not there yet with him. He might be number 7. I've got a kind of a question mark. I didn't really know where to put him. So I grouped these into 4 guys to finish out the top 10 in no particular order. Aaron Rodgers, Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, and Trevor Lawrence. Now, I've had great success with Jared Goff, so I trust him, and that's why I've got him there. But Tua could just as easily be as good or better than Goff this year. I just don't trust him with his injury history. I've got Trevor Lawrence sitting there in that top 10, which is great, but I had a difficult time trying to figure out whether to put Geno Smith in there. Derek Carr, no. Danny Dimes is getting close. Justin Fields, a lot of people seem to think that he's going to be in that top 10 this year. Well, if he throws the ball, sure, and he's running, you see what I mean? It's not really easy to sort of select 10, which is why I put them in groups. So after that first 10 I mentioned, I would be okay if I didn't get any of them. I'd be okay with Kirk Cousins, Deshaun Watson, obviously. Big question marks though there, right? And Justin Fields, question mark. Danny Dimes, question mark. This is why I don't have them in the top 10, is because of the question mark. So to answer your question, Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Hurts, Lamar, Herbert, I've got Prescott, Goff, Rodgers, Lawrence as my top 10, and then 5 or 6 guys that could just as easily be in that top 10. But I think the first 6 I mentioned there, that's your top 6 quarterbacks for 2023. So we have time for, okay, one more question. And here we go. This is from James in Las Vegas. I got the right one, right? Yeah, okay. James from Las Vegas. He writes, I need a wide receiver for the bench on my redraft team, but I also am looking for players for my dynasty team. Who have you got as wide receivers that are likely available on waivers or late in drafts that will help my team this year? Well, I happen to have 3 that I've been grabbing as many shares as I can, and I'm really hoping that these come through for me, because in a couple of leagues I'm pretty desperate for some wide receivers that are actually going to play. So the 3 that I have, number 1, Kyle Phillips. Now he's on 57% of rosters out there, but what it means is you have a 43% chance that he's out on waivers. People forget. The guy played his first game last year as a rookie, wound up with 6 catches. He had a phenomenal game. And then he pulled the hammy and spent the rest of the season basically battling that and wound up on the IR. He's healthy, and really there's only one guy left in Tennessee that's any competition for him for catches, and that's Burks. So if you're looking for a guy that's likely there in the later rounds, Kyle Phillips is your guy. Another guy that you want to take a look at, and he should be out there because he's only on 16% of rosters. So you should be able to go on waivers and get him cheap, or even wait till the last round of your draft to pick him up. And that's Deontay Hardy. Remember, he changed his name. He used to play for New Orleans back when they had a quarterback. He was actually pretty good. He had some good seasons. So he was under the name Harris, Deontay Harris. He's now Deontay Hardy. He's playing in Buffalo. McKenzie's gone. They're looking for a good slot receiver, and there you go. It's a match made in heaven. Well, hopefully. And the third guy that I've got is Richie James. He kicked around San Francisco for a couple of years, wound up with the Giants last year, and lo and behold, he had a good year. I picked him up halfway through the season thinking I might get a game or 2 out of him, but he actually turned into something. And now he's signed with Kansas City. And I think if you're looking for a guy with opportunity, or plays with opportunity, and a guy that needed a quarterback, well, guess what? Patrick Mahomes is about as good as they get in a pass-first offense. Now, there's 61% of leagues he's rostered, but there's still 39%. There's a 39% chance that he's available there for you. So if you're looking for some wide receivers for the later rounds of your draft, Kyle Phillips, Deontay Hardy, and Richie James are the 3 that I would. Well, that's our show for this week. Thank you to everybody who sent in their viewer mail. We will be doing this on a weekly basis. Don't forget the contest. There's still time to enter. Check below. Subscribe. You know all the stuff. Like the video, subscribe, and we will see you next time.